Welcome to my channel. Hi everybody, how you doing? I'm doing great. My infection is completely cleared up, and so I feel so much better. You know what happened? When I transplanted my basil, that big huge one filled with dead basil, it was so heavy, guys. I didn't hurt myself, but I strained a muscle, right there in the back. And so it perpetuated more bladder infection symptoms, but it only lasted a few hours. I thought I had another bladder infection. And so that was Saturday. Today is Sunday. It's gone. By the time I got home around 5 p.m. yesterday, around 6 p.m., it was gone. It was like Niagara Falls all over again. So, I hope everybody is doing okay. And welcome back to another episode of Endless Journeys. And today we are going to discuss a bit about the Countess Rothes. And she was one of the Titanic survivors. And it seems that she was actually very involved in the business of saving lives. She had, as I'm going to explain, she had quite a bit of experience working in the medical field, and she was receiving training. And so it was such a wonderful and honorable vocation for a woman of her social stature. And so hang on a bit, and we're going to get right to it. And so the Countess was actually born on Christmas Day and named, therefore, Noel with one L and not two, after her birthday. And so she was born she was born Noel Dyer Edwards, and was a philanthropist and social leader. She was the heroine of the Titanic's uh, ship and its sinking, and famous for taking the tiller of her lifeboat and helping row it to the safety of the rescue ship, the RMS Carpathia. And so the Countess was very popular in first of all, guys, I just realized that I did not include the year of her birth date. And so I believe it was in the late 1800s. So forgive me. I'm going to include it in the description if I remember to do that. Anyway, so she was a very popular and very lovely and bright young lady, and um, in London society, and she was mostly known for her beauty, her quirky personality, her dancing and acting, and diligence, and how she would organize lavish entertainment patronized by British royalty and British nobility. And so she was involved in charity work throughout the UK, and she assisted the Red Cross in fundraising and nursing during the First World War. And Lady Rothes, Noel, was a benefactor of the Queen Victoria School and the Chelsea Hospital for Women, which is today known as Queen Charlotte's and Chelsea Hospital. So Noel was born to Thomas and Clementina Dyer Edwards. I love that name. In a townhouse, and that was situated in Kensington, London, on Christmas Day, 1878. And so she was an only child. Her maternal grandmother was Lucy Sale Barker, the famous child author, and I believe she's known as Lucy Villiers in some other sources. She was a famous children's author, and so Noel lived at Prinknash Park, Gloucestershire, Chateau de Retival, Normandy, and Kensington, London. She had 3 homes, guys. So Noel married Norman Leslie, the 19th Earl of Rothes, on Primrose Day, April 19th, at St. Mary Abbots, Kensington, London. Although wedding announcements in the London papers spelled the bride's name with 2 L's, it was actually spelled the other way because of her birthday, in honor of her birthday. And so it what a fascinating story. I love stories like this. And so the family actually did prefer that name, the more masculine form, and so do I. So the Countess's husband, who was called Norman held one of the oldest peerages of the United Kingdom, which dated back to around 1450, the Middle Ages or the Renaissance. And he was elected representative peer for Scotland between 1906 and 1923. And so the Leslie family earldom was one of the few which recognized the right of descent through female heirs. And so I like that. I really do. So Norman's clan's the motto or the phrase or the catchphrase was grip fast. And I don't know exactly, what that would refer to. But anyway, uh, Norman was captain in the Fife Royal Garrison Artillery, and he was lieutenant in Royal Highland Regiment and in the Black Watch, and a lieutenant colonel in the Highland Cyclist Battalion. Wow, he was a pretty active guy. Um, Anyway, the Leslies, Norman and Noel, resided in England until 1904, and then they took possession of a 10,000-acre family seat in Scotland, which became known as the Leslie House in Leslie, Fife, and I assume that is in Scotland. And so, although the couple kept homes in England, they lived mostly at this very Scottish estate. And so, the Earl and Countess shared a very broad range of sporting interests, from hunting to cricket, and were very active socially as well, and attended a great many social gatherings. So this couple, Noel and Norman, were frequently mentioned daily in the Scottish and English press or British press, and they were often photographed in the illustrated weekly papers of London. So Noel became known for charitable work in England and Scotland as well. And so one of her first projects was to arrange the royal ball, or a royal ball, which was held annually, and it benefited royal schools. So the Countess Noel was active in fundraising for Queen Victoria School, Randolph Wemyss Memorial Hospital, and the Chelsea Hospital for Women. In addition, she organized fundraising committees for agencies like Princess Mary Scholarship at the Cedars College for Blind Girls, and the YMCA Bazaar, the Children's Guild, the Deptford Fund, and Village Clubs Association. And she, more importantly, assisted Duchess of Sutherland in costume balls and garden parties to aid the National Milk Hostels that provided milk for needy families. So, guys, I gather that she could not have been a corrupt or a selfish or a greedy person, because most likely she had money, okay? She had some wealth. She had stability. But here she was donating all of her free time to these worthy causes. And so to me, she is very much a good person and would have been a wonderful role model for any person to, mold themselves after her. And so I'm very impressed by her character. In 1911, Noel worked with the Red Cross and established a branch in Leslie, and expanded it with 3 more ambulance services. And so this led to a much larger ambulance service for Fife in Scotland. And so it was named Countess of Rothes Voluntary Aid Detachment. I'm impressed again. And so that year, she underwent nurse training. And so there you go. Very highly praiseworthy, in my opinion. Despite work for national charities, Noel was devoted to local citizens' welfare. And so, along with holding village Christmas parties in Leslie, Fife, she established a club for young girls employed in Falkland factories. I like that. So she was very involved in the lower class societies, helping them out, especially the youth. And She funded a clinic in the parish of Kinglassy and planned parties for the 2nd Battalion of Highland Light Infantry. And so Noel's success as a philanthropist owed to her beauty, motivation, organizational skills, popularity as a hostess, and friendships with the British royal family, including Princess Louise and Duchess of Wellington. She was a very good dancer and amateur actress, which she demonstrated uh, at the entertainments she hosted or organized for charity. At Edinburgh's Musical Hall, she danced in a reel, performed in a minuet performance. And so, hold on. That performance was held at the Coronation Garden Party in 1911 at Devonshire, Devonshire House. The Countess was politically active. A conservative, she supported women's suffrage cause as a member of Women's Unionist Association and chairing the local chapters at Leslie. She opposed socialist initiatives and proposed to reform the Irish Home Rule, which I'm not familiar with. And so I'm not sure if you're going to be interested in that. So I'm going to leave it up to you. If you want to keyword it and research it, you're on your own with that. So Noel nursed the soldiers who were wounded in First World War. And so I'm wondering if at some point she ever met Amelia Earhart, because that is exactly and precisely what Amelia Earhart did. And so she did that at Leslie House, which was converted into a hospital wing for troops who were invalidated out of conflict because they were hurt. And at the Calter Hospital in London. So she nursed her own husband himself after he was wounded in battle in 1916. And she found work fulfilling. She found this work extremely rewarding and very fulfilling, and she stayed on it for 2 years. And so, what were the Rothes couple doing on the Titanic in 1912? And so, uh, like Molly Brown and Georgette Madell, this couple, or actually Noel herself, was seen as a heroine of the 1912 Titanic tragedy. And so she embarked she embarked on the ship at Southampton on the 10th of April with her parents, and her husband wasn't there. So her parents, Thomas and Clementina, went with her, along with her husband's cousin, Gladys Cherry, and her own maid, Roberta Maione. And so her parents disembarked at Cherbourg, and meanwhile, the rest of the party continued on to New York and Vancouver, BC, to meet her husband Norman, who was visiting the U.S. and Canada on business. And so before the Titanic actually sailed from Southampton, Noel did explain that she was going to America to join her husband, and because they were interested in purchasing an orange grove on the West Coast. So it was virtually business. So Noel and Gladys were originally supposed to be in a basic first class cabin, which was to be C37. But they upgraded to a more spacious and luxurious cabin suite C77. However, I have a slight contradiction here that says also that the two women occupied the stateroom B77. And so I'm not sure exactly what room they stayed in, but it was upgraded. So the two female passengers were asleep when the Titanic collided with an iceberg at 11:40 p.m. on April the 12th, on the night of April the 12th. And so um I sometimes I get confused. Was it April the 14th? Was it April the 12th? It was pretty much probably on April the 12th. So many of these stories have little contradictions in them. And so I think it depends on the source. And so they were awakened by a crash, and they went up on deck to investigate together. And they were immediately instructed by Captain E.J. Smith, and that name sounds familiar, who instructed them. He was the Titanic's commander. He instructed them to immediately return to their cabin and then put on their life jackets and then meet up with him after that. And so from there on, it's history. She helped command the lifeboat in concert with the able seaman Thomas William Jones. And Noel handled the boat tiller and steered it clear of the sinking liner and rowed it to the rescue ship, encouraging survivors with calmness and optimism. And this took all night. It took hours, guys. And so Gladys and Noel, Gladys and Okay, let me start that over again. The two women were rescued in Lifeboat B, which was lowered at 1 a.m., an hour after the collision, about an hour after the collision, an hour and a few minutes, right? And so the boat was launched simultaneously with Lifeboat 6, but it did reach the water first, making it the first lifeboat afloat on the port side of the ship. Tom Jones placed he was the seaman who was placed in charge of that lifeboat by Captain Smith. And so he said that Noel had so much to say, so I put her in charge of steering the boat, just because he realized that she had very good leadership capabilities, and she took charge of the tiller and steered for over an hour before asking Gladys to take over. So they took turns. Gladys Cherry and the Countess Noel, they took turns. And so I believe Roberta was probably with them. And so actually this is going to lead to another popular story, which I'm going to be telling probably in the next episode. What happened, guys, was in that lifeboat where Noel was rowing, there was a young, newlywed Spanish woman by the name of Maria Josefa Castellana, and her husband did not make it on the boat. He forced Maria on the boat, and so at that point they were just separated. And so Noel remained there to help boost the morale of this woman and many other women who were in similar situations, until the lifeboat was eventually picked up by the RMS Carpathia in the early morning hours. And so, guys, when the Carpathia was first sighted approaching, Noel claimed that cheers went up, and several of the passengers started to sing songs such as "Pull for the Shore" and "Lead Kindly Light." So once aboard the rescue vessel, Noel devoted herself to the care of steering women and children from the Titanic onto the boat. Wow. Um, I'm impressed by her. So, as an account in the London Daily sketch recorded, her ladyship made clothes for the babies and became known as plucky little countess. So there must have been luggage and clothes flowing. I don't know what had to have been left behind. I'm sure people lost almost all of their belongings. And this newspaper added that a stewardess told Noel, "You made yourself famous by rowing." But Noel simply said, "Oh, I hope I didn't, because I didn't do anything." And so, guys, what this shows, her remark shows that she did not welcome the publicity that this particular deed and situation was bringing her. She did not welcome her role that was perceived as a heroine. And so, a heroine. And so she insisted that it was the leadership of Tom Jones and her cousin Gladys Cherry and other occupants of the boat that night that really actually deserved praise. So, guys, she was a good person. Um, okay, she would have had to have naturally shared her credit with Cherry because they both steered. But she did present Tom Jones with an inscribed silver pocket watch and also gave one to Alfred Crawford, a steward, in recognition for his own dedicated work. And so, wow, what a difference from Molly Brown's experience. And I'm sure that Tom Jones was a much more humane, um, I can't make a comparison, but uh, uh, he found himself in a very different situation than Molly Brown's own seaman, who was captain of that lifeboat. And so I, I don't know, I can't judge. However, I'm going to complete the last little bit of this story, and I think I'm going to do it later on at home. And so I hope that you're enjoying the story so far. And I've got really nothing much going on today. I spent the better 3/4 of today responding to your comments. And so I'm just going to take it easy and you know, get some air and go home. And we'll have another little talk later on because I'm starting to get tired and I don't want to tucker myself out. I think maybe that is part of why I came down with that infection. I was stressed out and run down, and now I'm feeling so much better. I want to stay with that feeling. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, I'll see you later on at home. Hi everybody, I'm home now, and so I've just been having some juice, and I thought I would let you know what I've been drinking for the past couple of days, and it's so good. Okay, I'm going to switch the view and let you have a look. So I know that cranberries are very good for bladder infections. I did pick up this one, and I picked up the sugar reduced one because I don't like a lot of sugar. I don't like actually the flavor of it. And I also picked up some iced tea. I am in love with this iced tea. Besides the peach flavor, which I don't buy because it's sugary, this is my favorite. And then I picked up some of this. And what I did, guys, is I mixed it all up, all of it. I have another bottle of that. And that's what I've been drinking. And it's so good. And I think it's really helped me. And so I think I'm going to let you have a look at my garden and judge for yourself what's going on in there. I'm anticipating having a funeral very soon for all of my basil. For the time being, it looks okay, but anyway, I'll let you have a look. So, as you know, I hurt myself with this is the pot that I hurt myself with, and it's huge. I can barely lift it, even when it's hasn't got hardly any soil or plants in it. It is quite heavy, and so when I was getting up off my little stool on the terrace, I kind of twisted the muscle a little, and that really put me out of circulation. This plant right here is not doing well. I may have to work at it a bit more, but this one seems to be okay for the time being. And my eggplant is still thriving. And this, guys, yesterday it was, or the day before, it was dead. It was pretty much dead. It seems to have revived a bit. I don't have a lot of hope for this one. It's not that old, and already I had started to have a problem with it. And my other pepper plant is doing not too bad. It's got a dead leaf here and there, but it's still pretty much thriving. And I don't know. This one seems to be probably the only plant that from my 2022 purchases that seems to have made it. Everything else died. So that's it. By the way, my aloe vera has pretty much had it. Some of it is still okay, but other parts look like they've died and never been resurrected since. It's kind of a weak plant, and I have been actually putting nutrients in the soil and in the water to no avail. It's kind of deadish. I bought this one I think it was last fall. And I don't know what to say about it. It's definitely could use a companion. And I have to take this one off. And so, yeah, not doing that well. So what I'm doing is I'm heating up some dinner. And I still have a lot of that peperonata left. But by the way, it turned out so good. But I put a lot of it in the freezer, and it's a little surprise, but I'm saving the sauce for something probably next week. And let me see if you can guess what I'm going to be making next. Anyway, let me have my dinner, and I will get back to you with the last part of the Endless Journeys story that we're doing for today. And Noel Rothes had a very interesting and lovely life, and we're going to be continuing with the last part very soon. So here we are ready to finish off this story. And we left off last where I was describing how Tom Jones was praising Noel for all of her, all of her. She had a knack for dealing with people, I guess. And he really was grateful for her assistance. I imagine that if it had not been for Noel, maybe things might not have gone as well as they did. And maybe the rescue might have been a lot more difficult coming. But they developed a kind of a friendship. And so uh, after she had rowed for all those 5 hours, he returned the favor by giving her the brass number plate from the lifeboat. And thought that was so amazing. And Noel wrote to Tom Jones every Christmas, so they kept up a friendship. And actually, that friendship lasted until her death. And so I'm imagining that probably Tom Jones was maybe still around when she transpired. I'm not sure. But anyway, the number plate is now in the possession of Noel's grandson, Alistair Leslie. And so the family also reacquired Tom Jones's watch when it was auctioned by his family. So I guess they bought it back. That's amazing, guys. The inscription would still be on it too. I would say that is a real keepsake, wouldn't you? And so the Royal National Lifeboat Institution's Fraserburgh Lifeboat, launched in 1915, was named after Noel, Lady Rothes. And so the lifeboat was provided as a gift from her father, Thomas Dyer Edwards, Noel's dad, in gratitude for his own daughter's safety and rescue from the Titanic. And so in 1918, there was an exhibition at the Grafton Galleries in London that whose proceeds went towards the Red Cross, and it included a pair of pearls from the 300-year-old heirloom necklace that Noel wore. She was actually wearing pearls. I guess if I had pearls on the Titanic and it was sinking, I would have probably grabbed them and put them on myself. She was wearing them when she fled the Titanic. So, wow, that is awesome. And so, later on in life, after her husband, Norman, passed away on March the 29th, 1927, not too long afterwards, she was still young, Noel remarried on December the 22nd, 1927, a few months later, to Colonel Claude McPhee in the courthouse of Chelsea, London. Noel retained her title, of course, but the couple, even though Noel had 2 children from her former and first marriage, this couple had no children, and they actually lived in Hove, Sussex, at the McPhee, but they lived mostly at the McPhee estate in Fairford, Gloucester. I can't say that name. Gloucestershire. So, guys, that is pretty much it. And so, during the last part of her life, Noel was interviewed by the author Walter Lord for his account of the Titanic disaster, A Night to Remember. And I would imagine much of that was probably based on her own testimony. And so it brought her story to a new and much younger generation, because once that story died down, people stopped talking about it. Um, and then other people never really knew about it. So, yeah. Anyway, the Countess of Rothes passed away in her house. Um, First of all, before we get to that, that book was published, A Night to Remember. It was published in 1955. So, sorry, I forgot to mention that. And so, Noel passed away in her home on September the 12th, 1956, having suffered for some time from certain heart conditions. And so she was buried next to her first husband, Norman Leslie, at Christ's Kirk on the Green churchyard in Leslie, Fife. And so a memorial plaque was placed in her honor on the west wall of the chancel of St. Mary's Church in Fairford. It reads, Noel, widow of the 19th Earl of Rothes, Norman, and beloved wife of Colonel Claude McPhee of Fairford, at rest the 12th of September, 1956. Holiness is an infinite compassion for others. Greatness is to take the common things of life and walk truly among them. And that is really actually what she did, right? And so the last line reads, happiness is a great love and much serving. And that was her epitaph. And so, guys, yeah, she was a really honorable and genuinely good person. I imagine that her upbringing must have been immaculate, must have been perfect, and in every sense of the word. And so I think that she was a very happy and well-adjusted person, and that makes a big difference in life, doesn't it? If you have pretty much everything going for you, it's going to be pretty hard to become a failure, right? And so some people still manage, though. Anyway, I really enjoyed researching this person. Her personality is something that we should look up to when we want to try to figure out what is the right thing to do. And I would imagine her accomplishments in life are something to be proud of and mentioned and remembered. And so, guys, I think we're ending the vlog right here. Thank you very much for listening and watching, and I hope that you've enjoyed listening to me talk about my plants and my bladder liquids, what I'm drinking for my bladder infection, which is, by the way, pretty much gone. And I hope that you've enjoyed the story of the Countess of Rothes. And please stay tuned for the next story, which will be based on the honeymoon couple that was aboard the Titanic. And so I'll talk to you later, and take care, everybody. Bye-bye.